Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!
Hello everyone, today I'm going to be covering Shas'O Shaserra, or better known as Commander Shadowsun. She is the 5th and final Tau character to be released in Tacticus and will be released via a legendary event, which I'll touch more on later. There's a lot to this video, so I'll briefly outline what will be on offer, in case you want to skip ahead via timestamps below. In part 1, I will announce the giveaway winners for the latest Dirty Dozen video. In part 2, we have lore in 60 seconds, delivered by resident lore guru IGAP. Part 3 is where I will show you the character, skills, and some gameplay footage. Finally, part 4 is where I will break down the legendary release event and explain how to unlock Shadowsun along with the usual infographics and guides. It's a long one, so let's get right to it. Congratulations to our 3 winners of Castellan Creed shards. Victor Neko wins 250 character shards and says that he is hooked on Tacticus. Well Victor, I hope you enjoy the shards. Ben Hubter and Mateus are both winners of 50 character shards. I've replied to all 3 of your original comments on the video with instructions about how to claim your prize. To those of you that missed out, don't worry, this will be a regular giveaway opportunity to tie into my Dirty Dozen series, so you can always try again next month.
So, you want to know more about Shadowsun? She is the poster girl of the Tau. She trained under Puretide, who was the legendary commander during the second sphere of expansion. She trained under him alongside Farsight, who later betrayed the Tau after learning the Ethereals are not the great leaders he believed them to be. After his betrayal, Shadowsun was chosen to be the next supreme commander of the Tau. She scored a great victory over a massive orc war by creating an artificial eclipse which distracted the orcs, which allowed her to ambush the war boss and his henchmen. Another great piece of lore is her winning against Imperium forces in the first battle of Mugulath Bay. Currently, Shadowsun oversees the defense of the 5th sphere of expansion against a massive orc horde.
Thanks very much IGAP. IGAP is thinking about starting his own YouTube channel where he covers Warhammer 40k lore. If you enjoyed his input, please leave him some feedback in the comments below to give him the encouragement and motivation to get going. Next up, let's take a look at Commander Shadowsun in-game. As usual, kudos to the art department, who time and time again continue to impress me with their artwork and animations in-game. Shadowsun is no exception. The traits that we see are close combat weakness, camouflage, flying, and infiltrate, all of which are existing traits already in the game. In terms of stats, we can see her stats scaled to level 50, and crucially Shadowsun has a movement of 3. Her weapon types are Blast and Melta. Blast has a 15%, and Melta is a new weapon type with 70%. The curved bar on the side reflects their pierce ratios. Nothing too exciting from her equipment point of view. Next, let's take a look at her active Exemplar of Kauyon, which allows Shadowsun to make a teleportation attack from the second round of battle onwards to do blast damage in addition to her normal attack. She also leaves behind a command link drone, which we'll see here linked into her passive, where Shadowsun and the command link drone emit an aura that does bonus damage on ranged attacks. Tau units affected also have a bonus hit chance. Here we have a bit of gameplay footage, with Shadowsun assisted by the not so powerful Darkstrider. We skip through turn 1 because Shadowsun's active does not become usable until turn 2. Here you can see how when we target an empty hex with Shadowsun, her attack is made randomly against an available target. Next up, I want to show you her command link drone, which has the same traits as the usual drones that we've seen for the Tau faction already. The drone has a weak physical attack and stats akin to Revas's drones at a similar level. The drone has Savior protocols, which is characteristic for Tau drones, and also shares the Defender of the Greater Good passive ability from Shadowsun. And Darkstrider is buffed by Shadowsun's passive. I've recorded an extra little bit here to show you Shadowsun's passive ability in action. What I want to highlight in this video clip is essentially that Shadowsun's passive doesn't stack with her drone. So you can see here that Defender of the Greater Good gives 110 bonus damage by applying the aura. Darkstrider here is the beneficiary of just one stack of the aura despite being flanked by both Shadowsun and her drone. The buffs you see on Shadowsun and the drone are the buffs being given by Darkstrider rather than them buffing themselves. This slide here looks at Shadowsun and how her passive compares to other characters in the game. The numbers here are scaled to level 50 and the values speak for themselves. It doesn't look like Shadowsun is going to immediately displace any of the top characters in the game. In fact, her numbers compare more similarly to Abaddon, who we know is not being used in the current top guild raid meta. There might be an argument to say that because Shadowsun has a command link drone, she can impact more characters with her aura. However, the drone is AI controlled and has a melee attack, therefore I feel is not a reliable source of damage boosting. Believe me, there are very few people that want Tau to be excellent and meta-defining more than me. I've been banging on to Snowprint about how they need to buff Darkstrider so that I can have more fun Tau characters to play with. However, a lot of people watch these videos and it would be irresponsible of me to recommend heavy investment in a character who I think will not break the current guild raid meta. Now, I would absolutely love to be wrong, but my impressions thus far in testing and the slide on screen show that her numbers are not game-breaking at the moment. I think Shadowsun will be a player in PvP largely, and clearly she'll have fantastic synergy with the Tau faction if and when war ever becomes a thing. While that's not a bad thing, the rewards for those modes at the moment are less than guild raids, so build her if you want to and you like Tau, but I don't think she's going to change the guild raid meta. Up next is a summary character infographic that you have all come to appreciate. I've highlighted the core information about Shadowsun here, and it will be available for download on the wiki a few days after this video goes live. I wanted to take a quick moment to focus on the character's stats radar and explain the latest nuance. You'll know that if you've been following my YouTube channel about the differences between how characters perform in PvP versus PvE. That is to say, how differently a character might perform against comparably geared player characters in terms of damage and armor versus endgame legendary boss content, where we know that the armor value is roughly 600. The nuances here in this infographic are created with the help of Tauan, and they help to illustrate the character's value as a centile rank in each of these areas. To put this into layman's terms, Shadowsun is very good in PvP, where her high damage and pierce relative to armor is among the best in the game. She falls away in PvE nodes where armor caps out at 600 for legendary bosses and doesn't score as highly in the damage centiles there. After speaking about Shadowsun and her kit, I suppose that leaves speculation about her usefulness and viability. I think Shadowsun's passive is certainly powerful, but slightly more limited than contemporaries. It's worth noting that her passive only applies to ranged characters and is not a universal buff. She allows 500 bonus damage on ranged attacks at level 50, which is significantly less than Eldryon, but also less than other multi-hit damage buffers like Athena and Calgar. However, considering how high the bar is and how few characters there are that provide this sort of damage boost aura, the fact that she is even in the conversation for inclusion in top raid meta tells you a lot. Shadowsun has unique appeal in that she is able to emit an aura not only from herself, but also from her command link drone, potentially increasing the amount of characters that can utilize her buff. Time will tell where she sits in the guild raid meta, but my gut instinct is that she sits slightly below the current meta in terms of top tier usefulness. However, the active ability to infiltrate and do heavy damage is definitely appealing, and I really like the PvP potential that she has. You could pair her with an infiltrate character, possibly somebody like Darkstrider, in Arena and snipe an enemy completely by surprise. I'm pretty excited to try her out in Tournament Arena when it next comes out. Next, let's take a look at the upcoming Legendary Release event. My YouTube metrics tell me that a lot of my viewers are often new, so I'll briefly explain what this is all about. Legendary events are a way to unlock the newest and rarest characters in the game. The event runs over the course of a week and has 3 sections, each with its own enemies and trait restrictions. You bring characters that meet these trait restrictions in order to score points, and with enough points, you will eventually unlock the character. For a fresh character, that is, somebody who's not had previous Legendary Release runs, we know that in order to unlock the character, you need to fully clear 8 levels of every section. that is to say, clear 8 levels in Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. If you buy the event packs, this requirement reduces significantly. The next question is, how big do your characters need to be in order to beat each level? The values you can see on screen are a rough guide to success, but as a disclaimer, these recommendations can move up and down depending on the character themselves and their accompanying skills and traits. Let's take a look at the events and traits in-game. Don't worry if you don't catch everything in this video. As usual, I will have my infographics to break things down for you and make it all much simpler. Let's take a look at each section in turn. For the Alpha section, we can see that the trait restriction is that Necron characters are not allowed. You have full big target, no psychers, minimum of 4 hits, full power damage, and full melee traits. For the Beta section, you'll notice that there are no trait restrictions at all. Full mechanical, full Astra Militarum, no bolter, no piercing, and no summon trait requirements. The final section is Gamma. Here, the restriction is that no Imperial factions are allowed. The traits are no piercing, full ranged, minimum of 3 hits, full power, and full Black Legion lineups. This infographic is a visual aid to show you how many points each character scores in the legendary event. Higher scores equate to more sections that the character can be used in, or the fact that the character can be used in high scoring sections. Again, this infographic will be available to download from the wiki in a few days. This infographic is a scoring metrics that I have made to help you approach the event. It groups characters that fulfill multiple traits at once in order to make efficient progress through each level. I'll leave a link for this in the video description below in order for you all to access. You can save a copy and modify this table in order to suit your own roster and planning. One criticism I've had in the past is that the infographics don't necessarily tell you who to build or who will be successful in a legendary event. High points don't necessarily equate to a successful character, and based on that feedback, I've created this list of characters who I think will be crucial to success and progress. The Chaos characters in this list are a no-brainer. Angrax can single-handedly clear entire levels on his own, especially if you position him next to a spawn point. If you pair him with Rotbone, then Angrax's killing potential with his passive increases even more. It helps that in addition to his very potent passive, Angrax also scores higher than any other character in the game, meaning that the sections he can be used in are plenty and high scoring. The next character in the top 5 is Rayvas, who is usable in a variety of different sections and is a naturally strong character. Her active summons drones to help you tank, and her active can also clear waves of minions at once. She has a reasonably high health and armor stat, which help in the survival-esque nature of these events. Cut Skoden completes the top 5. He is the best scoring Astra Militarum character, but also fulfills a host of other character traits, including Big Target. His grenade can be pretty useful in clearing large groups of enemies, and he is also a core campaign character, further increasing his value. That's all I've got for this video. Sorry it's been so long, but hopefully you found it useful. Videos like this take days to put together, to write and edit, so if you're in the position of using your refer a friend code, I'd really appreciate if you could consider entering mine on screen. It goes a long way to supporting me and allowing me to continue to produce this content. Finally, if you're a player looking for a new challenge, the Pants of Horus cluster are looking for the final wave of recruits to fill our guilds up to the 30 player threshold. Feel free to reach out via Discord link below and tell them that I sent you. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for your time. I have a few ideas for future videos, but if there's anything in particular that you're desperate for me to cover, please let me know in the comments section and I can throw those ideas into the mix too. Bye now.
Doo-doo-dee. It's Nandi!